Very good. How are you?
Not bad at all. Right, we're going to be working down on the edge again, but more over towards the south. So, aber dieses Mal machen wir es nicht in einer Reihe, sondern wir machen es in Zigzag, ja, 45 Grad. Immer eine so.
What's the effect when you mix different trees like that?
Well, because every tree brings their own microorganisms. That's enough. Bring the microorganisms and their own insects, etc. And they, and therefore you don't get. In monoculture, you always get pests because they bring their own insects, and then you have too many of the one thing. And that's the reason why you then have to start with herbicides and pesticides. I'm going towards the end of my life now, I guess. I'm now 77, although one sire told me I was going to be 127, but I don't quite believe that. Anyway, what I feel is that I'm trying to get something really worthwhile going. So I've taken over these 8 hectares. It's very bad soil. It's considered no-use soil by most of the farmers around. And the only way they get over it is to use more slurry and more chemistry. I think actually most of our sicknesses nowadays are just purely because our food is so poor. It's not only the fast food, I mean that makes it even worse still, but it's just the poor quality of food because of the poor quality of the soil. So that was the first thing we decided, that we were going to find a way to work on this type of soil, and I hit on terra preta when I was in Brazil in 1996, and I've been doing experiments with it in between time. And then I met Roland Wolf, and Roland was also into it, so we decided this was the way we were going to go. Try and get something a bit better than compost going in the sandy soil. It's sand for 8 to 15 meters down. So it's not only sandy soil from the point of view of not too much nourishment, but it's sandy soil also from the point of view of losing the water. So you just lose the water completely. So you were asking beforehand, what's all this mulch about? Well, that's one of the main things with mulch. Using mulch and covering the earth and not having any open earth means that when the rain comes, you make full use of it. We've had mulched fruit trees still having moisture on their roots after 16 weeks of drought. And this is one of the ways we're going to save the earth, and that's what the Australians were talking about when they started this idea of permaculture, 2 Australians in Tasmania. Why am I doing all this? Well, I'm doing it just purely because I really enjoy planting. I really enjoy seeing the plants coming, and I really enjoy designing with plants. Designing areas like we have done here, this big sun trap, or designing areas like the one in front of you here, which is will be a circle. Afterwards, a circle of quite high trees, and within it we will have then fruit trees. So you have to sort of think ahead to envisage this thing 15 years down the line. And then you can get the feel of what this place is going to look like. Okay, there is a project less than half kilometre outside here, which Margaret and I did 24 years ago, and it's been taken over by the Zen group, and they're going on ahead with it. So you get the idea of what this is going to be like 20 years down the line. So that's our motivation, and that gets all the people going. They go out and have a look at this, and then they say, aha, that's the way it could be. That's it. Yeah, you see things like this awful-looking lump of rubble there, and why the hell would you take something like that into a green field? Well, what's happened is, by putting all these fields together and having these huge fields nowadays, there is no habitat for a lot of things like weasels and things like salamander and all sorts of creepy crawlies that need a house, need some sort of a nook. Yeah, even the porcupine, the hedgehog, needs a whole lot of twigs and just a pile of twigs. So we have piles of twigs there and over there. You can't, because that's the whole idea of permaculture, is that every element has mere functions, and every function is answered by more elements. So you get a stability, and you get a whole variety within the area. And this is what
I've got the wish to transform matter into fertile soil, and I do this by fermenting organic matter into soil, adding charcoal and some woody material and stone powder, and then fresh green cut and manure, basically. Our ancestors have been using urine and feces. This, of course, I can't do at the moment, but the best fertile soil, actually, I'm convinced, relies on feces, on human feces. And that's what our destination is, to bring our own matter back into the soil. That's what every animal does, what all the plants do. They recycle everything and transform it into soil. And what we've been doing for the last few centuries is to gasify matter and transform the mother that feeds us into gas or male spirit. And I feel that that's one of the big problems we are running into, that we dissolve the matter we live on, we get our food from. And that's what actually the plants do for us. They pump carbon out of the atmosphere, and then by producing charcoal, I've put it into the soil, and it stays there for centuries if everything goes well. My conviction is that the plagues actually developed when we started mixing feces with water and urine, and people started to use old wells as toilets, and then drinking from the well beside that was polluted by this well used as a toilet. And then they started blaming other people, like the Jews, and killed them because they thought the Jews had poisoned the drinking water. Before that, actually, people used their feces and their urine as a fertilizer, and in order not to get sick, they transformed it via composting or fermentation into soil fauna, and so the microbes from our intestines were transformed into soil microbes, which actually formed a very fertile gardening earth. And yeah, and nowadays we are not ready anymore to take care of our own feces and to make sure that something healthy develops out of it. Because of this experience with the plagues in the Middle Ages, when people lost the knowledge how to make soil out of it and mix it with water, which actually did cost a lot of human lives. And this is, in my opinion, still is the reason why we are so alarmed about our feces and why it is such a taboo topic. All all we want at the moment is a flush toilet that lets us get rid of all the worries about shit. But I think it's our responsibility to take care of it personally again.
Okay, dann, ja, genau, genau. Also bald wie möglich.
We're doing a quick black soil or terra preta bed. We don't have all the ingredients, so we lack fresh green cut. Kitchen garbage we're gonna fetch later. But what we're gonna do now is put some straw and wood chips as an underlayer, and then put the horse manure on top of it, and then mix it with charcoal and clay powder, and then cover it with bit wood chip, straw, and soil. And in the beginning it gets up over 50 degrees, but within 2 days or 3 days it gets down to 30, 35, 38, and that's the temperature we want to have for living beings. We're going to plant berry shrubs into it, or anything. It will stay there. It will be used next year.
Do the berries absorb the manure, the bacteria?
The thing is that we wait till the soil microbes have absorbed the nitrogen and the microbes that are in the manure, so that the berries can use healthy soil as they do in nature. It's a change of microbes. Thin layer of straw at the base.
Very weak. How wide do you want to do it? How wide do you want to do it?
Ich denke die Breite hier von dem Beet, oder?
My name is Elisa Graf, and I came to Lebensgarten because I had been living in community in the United States, So I came to visit in January of 2009, just after the economic crisis began. And my husband and I talked about coming to live in Europe with our kids because he's German for many years, and it just never was the right time. But after the economic crisis, and we realized that we could see the writing on the wall that now was the time to maybe start looking at alternatives, because Lebensgarten is really closer to an eco-village than a co-housing community in the United States is. In terms of the fact that they're really experimenting with alternatives and sustainability in a way that a lot of people in the United States are not yet aware even about, even if they're progressive people. So we've been living here for about a year now, and we really love it. And Lebensgarten is a wonderful place. Yeah, from the permaculture, I love the fact that it has its own farm, and I support the farmer, Jean-Philippe, by getting a box every week, which I did in the United States, and it's so nice I can walk to my farm, and I can help on the farm. And I love the fact that we have a seminar center at Lebensgarten where people are coming from all over to learn about things like permaculture and meditation and nonviolent communication and things like that nature. So it's a very progressive place, and I just think that when the time comes where people really wake up to the fact that we have to change, and I think it's happening, they're going to need models, and this is the place where you can find that. So I'm very proud to be a part of it.
It's about how we are connected. Everybody, every one of us is connected to this, I don't know how to call it, this criticism of capitalism. We are connected to this Wall Street, Occupy, Frankfurt, everything. And it's our inner feeling, how we connect, how we are conscious about how we behave in daily life is when we go for a supermarket, we want the cheapest stuff that is possible for us to get. We are already feeding this energy of maybe exploiting this planet. And then we support this energy. And I think if we start with ourselves, how we get conscious, how we behave, how we create the world, we feed all these banker stories and all this capitalism. And if we don't support this system, we don't give energy to all this system. But we have to start with ourselves. That's it, in my point of view.
Oder 66.
65, ja?
Ich weiß es nicht genau. Frag mich doch nicht.
Ja.
60.
60, uff. Die alles vegetarianisch, ja? Sehr gesund.
Ja. Vegetarisch. Hannelore, meine Petersilie. So, das ist ein bisschen flüssig raus, ne? Jetzt bin ich hier durch, dann darf die Petersilie nach vorne. Nein, wenn ich hier durch bin mit den anderen Sachen auch. Ja, nur auf dann habe ich nachher das nicht. Ja, da. Ja.
So I am Kirsten, I'm from Denmark, and I'm here to do a workshop with my very good friend Gerhard. Gerhard and we have met in Budapest many years ago, and we immediately like each other, like to work together, and we've been doing that. I think we are in our 8th year and our workshop number 20 or something, or more. Workshop number 30. Some of them take place here in Lebensgarten, again and again.
What kind of workshop is it?
We are doing workshops in nonviolent communication. I think it affects the people here, and not only the people here. I think it affects all of us who are connected in this world. I share this belief that the past is with us and we can learn to live with it, we can learn from it, and we can create a better future, which is for me the main point, that we can create a better future, we can learn. Maybe we can learn that killing other people is leaving a pain not only in those who are killed and the relatives, but it's also leaving a pain in the person who did the killing. Because I need to do something inhumane to myself to be able to kill another person. And maybe we can learn from that and find another way of dealing with our differences. So when we disagree about something, that we find a peaceful way of seeing each other as human beings and finding a solution that is good for both of us.
Yeah, first of all, I would take a time for myself to really connect with me, and then when I meet you with what you say, then I would start to say, so for you it is very important to stand up for these values like freedom and humanity, and you really want to go for it, and this means a lot for you. Is it like that? This is the only way I know if somebody's having a strong attitude to something, that I start in recognizing and acknowledging what is the humanness behind it, what are the needs behind it. When I see the human in this being and really let it be without wanting to change it immediately, I think this is the only way. The other way, or one of the best ways I know, the other one may start to open his ears and his heart. And when I try to convince him that he's wrong or that there is something wrong with what he says, he will not listen. So I want to listen to him first. Not because I think it's less what I have to say, but I want to talk to open ears and an open heart. And I take the time to really connect to this human being first, before I say something else. And I have a lot of very good experiences in that, and a lot of very bad experience in trying to convince people by arguments and discussions.
Really would like to be able to do is to share what it means for me instead of sharing the ideology. So I can speak about the 11th of September in this way. Hey, what about wonder? What world would be like if it was not the way it's explained? I'm just thinking about it. I don't know what happened, but I hear these explanations and they don't make sense for me. I wonder what the world would like if there was another answer, and I'm curious. Will you explore it with me? So it's an invitation to be wondering together, instead of me claiming that I know how it is. But I'm only learning this now. I'm not an expert.
I danced from the age of 5, and every Friday we had dancing for the children in the afternoon and for the grown-ups in the evening. And of course, because it was in our house, then I did both. So I just danced whenever I could. Then I began competitive dance and went in for reels and jigs and whatnot. I've even got gold medals for dancing and whatnot. And then when rock and roll came in, I immediately got going with rock and roll. Now this is the first time rock and roll came in, not the second time. Right. And the first time, so Bill Haley and the whole thing. Within 3 months, I was doing performances of rock and rolls at different events, even at circuses and whatnot, you know, firing my partner around between my legs and over my head and all sorts of things like this. What you would now say that we would see that breakdancers doing, you know, with that sort of. My parents were warned by all sorts of people I was into something that was really bad news. Dance is a great way of relaxing and getting the right and left brain going together. You have to coordinate your whole body with this music that's coming. And you have to get a flow going. So you get into a completely different mindset than when you're thinking of something or when you're in action doing something. So it's a balance, but it's also the flow of life. And here is where I'm trying also to bring flow into agriculture and to bring symbiotic systems, and that comes through dance as well.
Der hatte so ein iPhone. Nee, wie heißt das? iPhone. iPhone. Ach ja. Mit so tollen Apps mal und dann haben wir gesagt, na, das ist gut, ne? Mal gucken. Ja, der wundert sich jetzt, dass ich hier die Farbe verändert.
Now I dream of the machine.